This podcast is in honor of renowned jazz trumpet player Wallace Roney. He was born in 1960, and he passed away this year, 2020.
3, 2, 1. So, hey, everybody. This is a little bit of a unique podcast. We're going to start this one out with some tunes. And I have today Malick Koly on drums and Oscar Williams II playing some keys. Paul Kufari on bass. They're in town from New York, and they're playing with the Wallace Roney Quintet at the Jazz Showcase. And we're going to do a little podcast, but first off, we're going to play some music here. So, let's get things started. But I also want to say, check out Malick Koly. That's Malick Koly, and that's at for Twitter and Instagram. If you want to do, some of that social media stuff, check out any of his records, anything that he's working on nowadays. He's a fantastic drummer. That's, we're lucky enough to have him here in Chicago, and he's comes to our New York shop fairly often. and then, of course, check out Maxwell Drums. That's website, www.maxwelldrums.com. And then we got Reverb Stores, Steve Maxwell Drums Chicago, Steve Maxwell Drums New York, and then Maxwell at Maxwell Drum Shop Chicagoland, at Maxwell Drums on Instagram. Look us up on Facebook, and then Twitter is at Maxwell Drum Shop. So yeah, without further ado, we're gonna play some tunes here for you. Yeah, guys. Right on. So what's that tune called?
There was a version of Impressions.
All right.
Listen back, see if you can catch
So
it.
we're gonna go chat for a little while for the podcast. And again, this is Malick Koly on drums, Oscar Williams II on piano, on keys, and then Paul Kufari on bass. And yeah, just real happy to have you guys here at the studio, killing it. So yeah, stay tuned, everyone. So thanks for joining us here, guys.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you.
It's we were just
lucky enough to have this group of people come and actually play some music for the intro, which is a first for us here at the Maxwell Drums podcast. Hey, you guys sound fantastic.
Thanks.
So why don't you just introduce yourselves around the whole group, starting?
I'm Paul Kufari, from New Jersey, and I've been playing in this group we're all in for about almost 2 years.
All right.
With the Wallace Roney Quintet, and it's a pleasure making music with these guys.
Awesome.
Touchy. Oscar Williams II. I play piano.
And Malick Koly, drums.
All right. And yeah, Malick is a good friend of ours. He's been coming to the... What was your first time you discovered the New York shop?
Oh, man. When was this? This was maybe 2012.
2012, okay.
Because I'm not from the U.S. originally, so I just moved, and I was getting ready to go to high school in California. But prior, I was in New York City, and a good friend of mine, actually, my band leader's nephew, Kojo, who is like one of the babies of the store, because he started coming to the store as he was like a baby. He was like 3, 4, just walking in and like bothering Jess and Hayden and all the guys at the time.
Sure.
And was like, man, there's this place that's like drum heaven. And I was like, yeah? I was like, yeah, man. And so this was at the, when it was down on 40, what was it? 40, not 42nd, but 40th. I believe.
In the old music row on Times Square,
right, exactly.
Right where Manny's was.
Exactly, yeah. And I think Manny's, the funny thing is that Manny's was probably just about to close.
And yeah, like Sam Ash absorbed them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so we went in there, and apparently the story was that actually Tupac had gotten shot in that lobby.
Right.
Yeah, so I was like, that's a start. And then we went upstairs and
In Manhattan?
Yeah, like the old drum store is where Tupac got shot the first time.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
In the lobby.
It's been a music building for a while. Who knows? You might have even been heading to the studio that was the shop.
Because they have studios upstairs, and so it's like a bunch of. But we got in there, and I saw. I mean, it was the first for me to see not only great new stuff, but also stuff that I'd never seen before, like a round badge, or because I had no understanding of that kind of thing at the time. And then I think Steve was in one time and took us upstairs, and it was like all the vintage stuff. I mean, the Buddy Rich kit, they had Elvin's kit.
Sure.
They had all sorts of stuff, and it was it was a beautiful experience. I was
Tell me a little bit about your earliest years, like how you got into music.
So my father was a playwright, and my mother was she's still active, but she's a singer, dancer, and actress at the time, and she was in my father's theater company. And so when I was young, I traveled with them like everywhere, and I used to come to the rehearsals and stuff. And my father's specialty was this kind of theater that's called koteba, which means, I don't know the actual meaning of it, but it's a revival of a certain traditional culture that's blended into like more of like a more urbane kind of culture. And so you basically take the roots and the languages of whichever area of Africa you're basically taking, and you adapt that to what would actually happen in the city. Huh. And so in that, there was a lot of folklore and also music in it. So that's one of the main components. So you had a live band, and you had this live band address pretty much every area of whichever tribe or culture they're talking about. And so when I would come to rehearsals, there would be like drummers with like African drums, and there would be a trap set drummer, and then there would be just like the band. And every time I would come, I would just go sit on the drums all the time, every single time. And so when I was about,
that's a cool
yeah,
kind of story. Yeah, it's so interesting to interview all the various different people and like to like hear how you got into music. But that one, it's really interesting.
Yeah, so when I was about 3, they went to Brazil, and I remember I was really sick when they got back. But from what I could...
Which country are you from originally?
Oh, I was born in Ivory Coast.
Ivory Coast,
But it's complicated because my father's from Guinea, and I have no roots whatsoever in Ivory Coast. I just happened to be born there.
Okay.
And then I grew up between there and France, and I went to high school here. It's just
It was all over the place.
Right.
Cosmopolitan.
Yeah. And so he brought me this electronic drum set from Brazil. And I don't know what happened, but I think at the time I was obsessed with this TV show that they had where like this guy would kind of just like jump around on trees. It was like an African Spider-Man of some sort. And I remember just like when I wasn't sick anymore, I found the drums that were kind of just like in the yard of our house. Cause I just messed with the cables and stuff and like ruined it. And I think that was my way of saying I want an actual drum set, Dad.
Yeah.
And then from there he bought me an actual
Analog.
set.
It's all about the analog drum set.
Right, because I was like, I just used it as like ropes to jump on trees, man. And it's just like my father was like, and then he finally got me a set.
So do you remember what kind of kit it was, your first drum set?
It was a Capel. It was a French company.
Oh.
Capel.
Yeah, we're doing a little bit with some French drum makers now that Asba. That's they were big in like the 60s.
I'm not hip. Yeah.
But I've never heard of that company.
Yeah.
It's funny. Yeah, in the States, not a ton of European drum sets make it over here. Sonar and Premier, pretty much. That's all you see.
Well, evidently, the best drums were always made here.
Made in the States, yeah. Well, hey, I mean, the Traps kit was kind of...
It's an American concept.
Yeah,
that you have to give to them. That's
Yeah, but what was it designed for?
the design.
Why was it the trap set? Man.
I think it was when there wasn't any need for mobility anymore. For one, because you didn't need to move anymore, and then
I feel like that could happen anywhere around the world.
that is true.
There's a lot that went into it. Even like silent movies. That's actually one thing that a lot of people don't think about.
That's right. They had all kinds of contraptions.
Right. Back in the old days, you'd have like an organ player, and the organist would play, like a lot of like fully diminished chords when the bad guy comes, and then like but then you'd have a guy with a traps kit, and they'd have like coconuts. That's the horse. And then
Monty Python.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, right on. But that was a big part, I think, of the genesis of the Traps kit. And then, I mean, yeah, like early jazz, And
Yeah. I think there was a need of different sounds, and the cats who were aware were like, man, we got to get that sound.
we got historic kits like the one behind you there. That thing's from right around World War II. I think that one's from just before, and you can see how much the drums have changed and evolved. They used to have huge bass drums, and then the toms are kind of like a Chinese. They would have like tacks on them, and then the cymbals are Turkish, obviously.
That's right. Yeah.
And then a lot of the rhythms that end up being played are kind of like Latin, African, influence, and then you have like snare drum and bass drum are kind of like military. Right. European instruments. That's how they used to like communicate back in the like Civil War, Revolutionary War era. But yeah. So more about like kind of your influences and like when you were starting. Like, do you remember who was your first teacher or a teacher that really influenced you?
Well, I'd say I come from a family of pretty much like my father was a psychiatrist before he reconverted into playwriting. And he had never taken formal study of playwriting, but just had a very good understanding of people and social context, and also like responses within, I guess, social interactions. So from there he was also a good writer, poetry and stuff. So that's kind of how he built his understanding of playwriting. And from that, I think when I started playing drums, he instilled the mentality that I could make myself. So meaning like he was like, if you take 30 minutes out of your day every day and sit there and work on this thing, it's going to get better. But you could also learn from, watching people that, inspire you. So it's always worked for me in a sort of inspiration. I've never really got formal, like teaching, like teacher, like, student kind of thing. I mean, I've taken lessons, but much later. So meaning like, in the last 5 years is when I've really like taken lessons. And even then I've taken like one lesson here and kind of just get like an elephant, like we like to say in Africa, and then you have an elephant to dissect over, the course of a year. Because you could go to a teacher every day and, but if you can't access everything that's given to you every day on a daily basis, then it's like your track can be clogged because you have so much information and you're not dealing with it, in a timely manner of some sort. So I never really had a teacher, like up until like I have, in the last 5 years I've had a lesson with Michael Carvin, great drummer. I've had a lesson with one of Alan Dawson's greatest students, John Ramsey, who pretty much has the Alan Dawson estate from Boston. I had a lesson with him. I talked very regularly with Cindy Blackman about drum stuff and, ask her a bunch of questions. And that's about Wallace Roney is he's a source because he's played with all of the greatest drummers. He's played with Philly Joe. I think he's played with Papa Joe as well. He was in Tony Williams' band. He was in Elvin Jones's band. He was in Art Blakey's band.
For sure, yeah.
I think the only one who he probably played with him but didn't have like a long-term thing with him was Max. But Max appreciated him, loved him, for a long time, and even was one of the big supporters of the quintet when the quintet just first started I believe in the 80s.
So when did you first get into jazz? What was your family like into jazz? I learned to play like swing before rock because my dad I was listening to records. Yeah. Although I remember listening to a lot of Earth, Wind and Fire.
Yeah.
We listened to like basically it was either like R&B kind of funk stuff or jazz my whole childhood. But for you, did your family listen to a lot of that kind of stuff or was it something you found?
One of the funny things that my dad had said when I was young is that, because my father was really well traveled and had spent quite some time also here and really loved jazz music. And when he first got me that actual kit, I think some of the first things I played weren't, because everyone usually when you get them on a drum set, my generation, I'm 22 this year, you pretty much get them on a kit and they just start playing a groove like boom, pop, boom, pop. And my thing was weird. I was just making sounds, just kind of like hitting the cymbal and trying to see what that wanted to do. And then I'd play like something here. It was never like a definite thing. And it was like, well, you're gonna have to learn to play a definite thing. But that's really interesting that you kind of just like, just looking for these sounds and stuff, kind of like a free kind of cat.
Do you teach at all?
No.
You
I
probably
don't.
will at some point.
Well, I don't know if I'm. I don't know if I'm designed for that, but
I always found it like really interesting when you get really young kids. I've done a little bit of teaching here and there, and at one point I was teaching at a school and they were really young. It was the first time they'd ever played a kit, and to see like the first kind of feel like. And a lot of the times they almost, it's almost like a reggae feel that they play. It's the first one they go like and then they hit the bass drum and the snare drum on 2 and 4 together.
Yeah,
which I always thought was kind of interesting.
Yeah, that's right.
And you learn over time, but it's really cool. There's nothing like watching and even my own kids like Lily and Arthur, they come into the shop and Arthur's like playing on the cymbals like whoa.
Yes, that sounds. Just finding sounds, yeah.
And I guess we're kind of lucky because we're almost like we never grow up. We're still finding.
Yeah, that's sound. Right. That is right. A new cymbal comes out, and you're like, what? This does that? That's crazy. Yeah. But my father, he had a lot of records, and when he used to travel, he used to just like have kind of like a list of things that he would want me to listen to, and then when he came back to see. Just like to, sing songs back to him and stuff like that. I think that was like the whole psyche thing in him that, always made him test me in terms of like how well could I remember this or, how, aware and stuff like that. It was just very interesting.
Yeah.
But the first jazz record I ever heard was Giant Steps.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I was obsessed with Giant Steps for a long time. The song itself, it's one of my favorite songs.
Yeah. Good stuff. Yeah. Your style, it's one of the things I like about you. You listen and you sometimes you play like some busy stuff, but you really kind of add to the music. And sometimes some drummers it's like to get in the way of the music sometimes. But I really like your style. I haven't been able to check you guys out at the showcase, unfortunately, but before we did this, I did a little research and I watched a bunch of stuff. It was you playing, it might have been you on Rhodes, possibly. And I can't remember if it was you on bass, but it was at some place in New York.
Oh, yeah, no, it was a different band. I know what you're talking about. It was a different band, yeah.
It was cool stuff, though. And then today I got to see a little more. You got a cool style.
Yeah, no, that band was interesting, and that was some of the, I guess I was still, I was still trying to understand what was going on, because at that time I wasn't in the band yet. Okay. And I was going to rehearsals, and the funny thing is that I had a rehearsal with them right before that gig. That's very funny. And he actually drove me to the gig. And the funny thing is that day he was writing a tune. So first we played I remember what that tune.
This Dig of You.
This I Dig of You. We played This I Dig of You, just trio, and he was playing the form, but I couldn't quite understand what was going on. And then after a while, he was like, you know what, whatever. And then he started playing this song that he wrote that I really like.
How did you guys meet?
Through Wallace. Well, no, actually, we met on a gig.
We've seen each other.
Yeah, we've seen each other around the scene for a while.
Yeah,
but I don't know when we actually met. Mostly during this era.
Yeah.
And then how'd you get involved with the band?
He gave me a call upon Wallace's, asking around for a bass player, and so I made a rehearsal, and thankfully he's kept me around ever since, about 2 years ago.
And so did you guys do the college thing? Did you go to one of the New York schools, or?
I'm still at William Patterson right now.
Cool.
I plan on graduating, and I'm in my junior year. So
nice. And then did you do the college?
William Patterson as well.
Nice. And then did you do the college thing?
I went to new school for about a semester.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I wanted to go there for a while until I saw how expensive it was.
That is.
No.
Yeah, but I left after one semester, so I haven't been back in.
It seems like a really
school.
Awesome place, though, and I had some friends who went there.
It is a good school. I mean, my thing is that if you go to new school, which is one of the most open-minded kind of environments, you have to know what you want, because it's very easy to kind of just get in your own thing and not actually learn anything. Because there's a lot of there are a lot of teachers there, and there's also this thing that allows you to study with anybody you want. So when you get out of proficiency, which is a test that they make you take to see how if you can, for drummers, if you can play rudiments, if you can do this and they can do that, how much independence you have. Right. Then they allow you to study with anybody that's not a teacher at the school, and they have people on roster that are just amazing. But if you if you don't know what you want, and you kind of just you kind of just graduate and you're like, what did I do for 4 years, kind of thing,
Yeah.
And school just wasn't for me, so I ended up leaving.
Well, yeah, I mean it seems to be working out for you. You're playing, moving around, doing what you love. I mean,
I hope so.
Yeah, you don't necessarily have to do all 4 years. Yeah, college institutions are an interesting thing when it comes to jazz music.
Yeah, indeed.
Because there's you want to be creative and original, but then yeah. And the whole point of a conservatory is to kind of teach the traditions.
That's right.
But
that was a good thing about having when I went there, having Mulgrew and Mayburn around, because they were not afraid to express their understanding of the nature of jazz, outside of whether you call it tradition or whatnot.
Who are these teachers? Yeah, you should give them a shout out.
you know these cats. Everyone should.
Just for everyone who's listening, because all the guys that listen to this, some of them are jazz players, some of them they're just getting into it, so they might not know.
Well, yeah, it was a fortunate time, because these players have moved on
So you were lucky to
death.
Whoever your professors are.
Mulgrew Miller was there, the director, and
nice.
Harold Mayburn, 2 piano players there. James Wyman, Armin Danilian were there, but I took lessons primarily with those two, and they weren't afraid, in ensembles, or if there happened to be a department meeting for some reason for the whole jazz department, which is faculty and students.
Yeah.
It's just amidst all the quote-unquote freedoms that people feel like they don't have and need to uphold. You always have freedom. And tradition doesn't mean the lack of that. And that's what, or the basics or fundamentals or essentials of what makes a music what it is. Not all music is exactly the same. Otherwise, we wouldn't have different names for them. And they wouldn't sound different.
Yeah.
It's like all people aren't the same, or nothing is the same. Things are different.
You guys should talk about yourselves a little bit. Where are you from originally?
Just New Jersey.
New Jersey?
I've been there my whole life.
Who was your professor you really liked studying with, or still actually? You said you were.
Yeah, I'm still at school. So I have 2 great teachers. I just moved on to studying with Steve Laspina, but before that I was with Marcus McLaurin at the school.
Nice.
And like he was saying, Marcus, he makes sure that the fundamentals are intact and drills the foundations of music making and playing in a certain style and honoring that style.
Right.
And I just started taking a couple lessons with Steve Laspina, and he's fantastic as well. So. And
then Oscar, where are you from originally?
Born in Mississippi, and I grew up in Kansas City, Missouri, not too far from here.
Nice. When did you move to well, you said you're in Jersey now, right?
Now I live in New Jersey. Yeah, we moved there for school in William Patterson.
Cool.
I've been there ever since.
It's awesome to see you guys. Yeah, you guys are. It's a really young group, which is, a lot of the guys that are playing with, like big gigs, moving around, playing with big names like this. It's cool to see like young energy, in the jazz world, because I think that gives it, a little bit of fuel, which is awesome.
Yeah. Wallace was saying yesterday, unfortunately, McCoy Tyner passed away a couple of days ago, and he was talking about, how, he, is trying to pass on, everything that he's learned from the masters, because he spent a lot of time with all the people you can think about, spent, years on the road with Herbie Hancock, spent years on the road with Tony Williams, spent years on the road with Wayne Shorter, spent years on the road with Ron Carter, and those guys all together as a band.
Yeah.
And then, individually in different settings, spent time with McCoy Tyner, and he's one of the geniuses, of this music, truly, and one of the, the people who carry the torch. And, it's important that, some of these great artists aren't forgotten, because usually people tend to wait until they're gone and they're like, oh, this person, but, he's still very much alive and, is, giving us the opportunity to be around him and, to really learn.
Yeah.
And learn in one of the truest ways possible. It's not like, you got to come here and you got to give me $20,000. It's like, you're going to deal with this the way it should be dealt with.
For sure.
And it's an incredible opportunity.
He must have, like, really amazing stories.
Oh, plenty. That's all day, every day. And, and his storytelling musically as well. It's like takes you places every night.
I love stories. One of the cool things about working at the shop is I just get musicians, left and right coming in here telling me all these some of them stories you wouldn't believe. Even like orchestral musicians that some stories is like, what? Are you serious? That really happened? Yeah.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
You gotta love it though. But yeah. So I'm moving on a little bit. I guess I could ask, like, for all you guys, Ed, what's some cool music to check out? Like influences you guys have been, maybe get some people hip to? Maybe start with you.
I mean, I would have to say at this time, maybe.
Something like a smaller name that people haven't heard of.
Oh, sure.
You've been checking out.
Something that comes to mind because I've been listening to this particular composer is Maurice Ravel. So that's sort of
oh, sure.
a while ago, but that's just what popped into my mind. So I couldn't.
Do you play a lot of classical stuff?
On the bass, I started out playing a lot of classical.
Are you a French grip or German grip?
French.
Yeah.
And
my brother is the same way.
that was one of the things Marcus, instilled in my first couple lessons with him.
Sure.
The importance of the fundamentals. So.
What about do you do classical stuff at all? You got like a favorite sonata?
Some classical when I was in school, but I've never pursued that style. But I like Mozart.
Mozart.
For some odd reason.
Oh yeah, Mozart. Yeah, genius.
Composers Roundtable now. My bad.
It's all right. Yeah, it's kind of cool. That's the fun thing about podcasting. Go in any direction.
That's right.
There's a lot, but I don't actively listen to that a lot. But I've heard a lot of stuff and some things that really hit me.
Yeah, like the classical genre is interesting, especially in colleges. Like, have you ever? You guys, are you hip to like the percussion ensemble scene?
I saw because Manus. So this is like the New School Music Building is one building, and Manus is the floor on top of us. And we used to hate them because they had the best facilities. Like their facilities were just neat, soundproof. Where like we would be rehearsing and you could hear like the sound just bleed into the other room. So we would go to Manus sometimes and just like take a room and be like, "What's up?" And so I would hang in that room. They had like a nice kit that had a nice snare, and I would just like see that that community. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Oh yeah.
Yeah. A really good school around here, a good college is Northern Illinois. They just have a really good percussion program. Are you guys steel pan? Hip to steel pan stuff?
I saw it in Trinidad.
You ever heard of Liam Teague?
No.
Oh, you guys check out Liam Teague. He is amazing. Yeah, he does like bebop jazz on steel pan. Really.
I don't know that name.
He's a pretty big name in the Midwest. I actually studied with him a little bit up at Birch Creek, which is like a camp, and it was high school. But I was never great at steel pan. It's so strange because the notes they have to put them where they have to put them because the pan's this shape, and you gotta fit the keys where you can. It's not like a piano where it's in order, or like a bass where it's it's just you just gotta like have that in your muscle memory where those notes are. But man, yeah, he's awesome. Everyone should definitely check out Liam Teague. There's a couple albums that he has out where he just like shreds the bebop stuff. But that school, the percussion ensemble, it's very avant-garde. You never know what you're going to see. Everyone loves going to the percussion ensemble shows because, it's just like very experimental stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, so maybe talk about like what are your favorite kits now? Like if you had, well, first of all, what are you playing? What did you bring? Because you said at the showcase you actually brought your own kit, right?
Well, it's Wallace's kit. But
okay.
but it's Gretsch. Yep.
Oh, nice. It's like a new Gretsch, or
it's a Wallace Roney special Gretsch. Actually, it's
cool.
It's a broadcaster, but with special things on it that I will not reveal.
Oh,
but
it's
an 18 by 12, which is inspired by Elvin's bass drum with John Coltrane.
Cool.
18 by 12, because usually what you would get an 18 by 14.
Yeah.
And so it's an 18 by 12.
Do they call it like a jazzette? The 12 by 18?
That's what they give it a name.
Yeah.
Yeah, they give it a name, but it's an 18 by 12.
Or micro bop. That's another.
Right. They have an 18 by, so that one's an 18 by 12. 9 by 12? 9 by 12 tom.
Probably 8 by 12.
8 by 12, sorry. Yeah, 8 by 12 and 5.5 snare. And
is it the newer 3-ply broadcasters that they're making?
Yes, but there's some special things to that one.
Yeah, we gotta keep that secret. No, what's the finish? You can tell me the finish.
Yeah, it's like a blue sparkle, like very nice blue sparkle.
Yeah, cool.
It's a beautiful kit. We always get compliments on it after people judge why we brought it. It's like why'd you bring the kit? It looks so nice. It's like, oh, well, But it sounds incredible. The kits that I like today, I guess there's a guy who makes Rogers now. Like he kind of like just started doing it again.
I'm
not sure who
he is. Are you talking
he
about
is.
the new Rogers brand?
Yeah.
Well, the Rogers is they're like the Dynasonics and stuff.
Well, I don't know if he makes Dynasonics, but I've seen Rogers kits. And it's the big R, really. But it's a new guy who makes it again.
Oh
and
yeah, maybe yeah.
And it sounds really killing. I mean, it sounds good.
Rogers drums were always kind of like groundbreaking. They had drums that really, pretty much all modern drums are kind of based off what they were doing. If you look at like a DW,
that's right.
It's really
that's right.
The Swivel-matic mounting.
I'm a big fan of the Swivel-matic mount.
For us jazz guys, like it's perfectly adequate.
That's what I use. I mean, seriously, and
it'll last forever. The ball is made out of metal.
That's
not
right.
Made out of plastic.
No, that's right. I have about 4 mounts.
Yeah.
And there's like 2 of them that I've edited with like a spade. So essentially, instead of coming out with the L arm, it starts with the L, but then ends with the spade, so you don't have to change the mounting on the tom.
Right.
And so and it's a killing thing, and then But what else? Ludwig's really great. Ludwig, I mean, they've been around. They're still around.
Yeah, they were innovators too. I mean,
Indeed.
They pretty much invented the bass drum pedal.
That's right.
We were talking about early drum
That's
sets.
right.
The bass drum pedal, we just think about it's a bass drum pedal. But 100 years ago, 110 years ago, it's like 120 years ago now. That didn't exist. Yeah, time just keeps on going.
That's right.
I still think I'm in like 1995 sometimes. that's kind of
Yeah.
But no, it's 2000.
20.
It's crazy, yeah.
That
But
is.
I think the bass drum pedal was invented between like 1910 and 1920. I think I don't know the exact year, but that was huge because I mean before that they actually used to take a drumstick and like play the bass drum with the stick.
Yeah.
So they'd be like, some,
Yeah, no, because even later, like when the pedal came out, some of the guys stylistically kind of did the,
right.
There's
like a holdover
kind of mess with it.
There's some really cool.
Because I still see people doing it.
That's right.
Why?
That's right. That's right.
It's funny because if you look at really early jazz drummers, like it's so avant-garde because they're just everything they're doing is brand new. They would like dance around the kit. A lot of early drummers were actually tap dancers, and they would like dance around the drum set. Like sometimes and play like a chair or something.
Yeah. Philly Joe, Papa Joe.
Papa Joe was a really good tap
very
dancer.
great tap dancers. Yeah.
Papa Joe's just about the baddest.
That is true. That is true. I mean, Michael Carvin studied with Papa Joe.
Was that at the big drum shop in New York? What was it called?
Ippolito's?
Yeah, Frank Ippolito's.
Yeah, Frank Ippolito's. But the thing is,
I wish I could have gone there. The place looked like it was pretty sweet.
Yeah. I got to go there before it closed.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I got to stop by there before it closed.
You must have been really young.
Yeah, I was really young. Yeah.
Because I never even got to see that. I saw a couple shops my dad brought me to.
Yeah.
Do you know Arnie Lang, the Gladstone guy?
No.
I remember. Yeah, I was super young, and I went, and it was in. I think it was in Brooklyn, and I was just so amazed at the neighborhood. It was so cool. Everybody, people had like tons of piercings and like. Their hair was like
Brooklyn. It's changed
like
though.
20 years ago.
It's changed though.
Like really
it's changed.
Early kind of hipster chic culture. I don't know.
Yeah, Brooklyn's changed.
Yeah. Is it getting like kind of?
It's very
yuppified.
Because there's a lot of people there, and a lot of different people, but It's gentrifying. I mean, and it's looking quite different.
Starbucks on every corner. And
I mean, if
They got
Chipotle.
Starbucks special reserves on every corner.
they got sweet green.
So you can get drunk on every corner at the Starbucks.
Nice. They actually that's cool.
Yeah, they should keep that going.
Irish whiskey there.
Yeah, that's right. Oh,
a little bit of whiskey in my coffee. That's cool. But yeah, I love New York. I wish I could spend more time there. I always have such a good time. I love the sea air because you got like the ocean. Here we have the lake, but it's not quite the same. Chicago's got its own smell though, but New York it's just and the East Coast in general. The water.
New York's got a smell.
New York rose.
It's got a smell.
New York definitely has.
It's a little less. Chicago's like super sanitary because we had the Great Fire and that burned the entire city down. So when they rebuilt it, they put alleys in.
I see.
Didn't have alleys before, but that's why Chicago like the garbage isn't on the street. It's behind.
I see.
That's one advantage Chicago has.
Yeah.
But yeah, New York, it's got that beautiful sea air that just kind of blows in from the ocean. You gotta love it. And then not to mention the music scene. But yeah, we talked about a little bit about drums. What do you think of Craviotto? Are you a Craviotto fan? Single ply stuff?
I've heard one Craviotto that stuck out to me. When Marcus Gilmore was with Craviotto, I saw him at the Village Vanguard. And what he had done to it was quite interesting because he had angel hoops on his.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And that sounded killing.
I bet you we probably sold it to him.
I mean, no, of course. And he was an endorser, too.
Yeah.
And so, that one sounded really good. And I think, they're very bullety, meaning you hit it, you're going to get the sound that you just, you hit it and it comes right out. It's that kind of sound where, something like Gretsch has a little more warmth to it. And it has to do with, your touch and many other things. And
really, really sensitive and articulate.
Right.
But maybe live and
right.
It's so amazing the amount of different each drummer tunes their drums so differently. It's a little different than other instruments.
That's right.
Although I was I make the analogy like a flute. If you're playing flute, there's if you're playing an A, it's either an in tune A, in the temperament scale that we use, or it's not quite in tune. But with drums, it's how do I tune my snare drum? It's however you want to. And then
exactly.
maybe who's paying you? However they want you to.
Exactly.
And it's just it's such an interesting instrument because there's no right way to really do it.
Right.
I get people, they tune their drums, their snare so low. The guy who did the jam last night, he tuned his snare really low.
Yeah.
Because he likes that warmth and that really quiet thing. Me, I tune it much higher.
Yeah.
Which, I probably get that from my dad.
That's like that. I was about to say the Steve Maxwell special.
Right.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Because But
But you today you're doing some nice bebop like Max Roach style, which you gotta love.
Yeah, well, definitely inspired by his tuning.
Those old pictures of him and his it looks like he's had the same snare drum head for like at least 2 years. He must have just it's worn in because the coating is completely gone on the top. You probably know the record I'm talking about.
Yeah. Of course,
it was the one where he did the
Drums Unlimited. Drums Unlimited.
That's the one.
That. And but your father is a great tuner, and I also watch some of his videos about tuning and whatnot, and he's, he comes from that generation, and I think he studied with Papa Joe.
Yeah.
Right. He comes from that generation that, it's like when you hit a drum, no matter however you want to tune it, it has to get that sound. There's a sound, because drums are family. Because, a lot of people will tune and the drums are completely disconnected from each other. It's like, why is this tom dead and this one is super high?
Yeah.
And then this bass drum just pretty much has a rug in it. It's like... but your father, has that understanding of, of a family, drum family, and what that's supposed to sound like. And it's, and it doesn't matter if it's high or low. It's that concept of, the drum family and, the friendship between both heads, meaning one head needs to coexist with the other head.
Yeah, synergy.
Exactly. So that when you hit it, the top isn't choked or the bottom isn't singing a completely different note than the top note, and then it's But I definitely spent some time watching his videos about tuning.
Yeah. I grew up and I'd be watching TV and he'd be in the other room just with a drum just for hours.
Yeah, that's right.
That's
what they do.
Dynasonic and just kind of trying to dial it in just right.
That's what they do. That's what they do.
You can spend a lifetime.
Yeah.
What about cymbals? What kind of cymbals are you using these days? I think today you were using some house cymbals. I think.
Yeah, I used a new A from one of the newest A's that they made on the left, I think it was an 18.
Yeah.
And then I used I believe a 20 or 21 traditional Istanbul on the right.
I gotta show you my. I showed you my Bosphorus ride?
Yes, you did.
I love that thing.
Yeah, it's a killing one.
That's
I was
favorite
playing
ride in the world. I'll never sell that.
Yeah, and I used some prototype hi-hats, but right now I'm using.
I'll hammer you a cymbal if you want. Ship us a cymbal you don't like. It has to be like a Zildjian though.
Yeah.
If you have a 20 or 22 you don't like, and give me maybe an example of a recording where you really like the cymbal. And I'll lathe it and hammer it for you.
I'll do just that. I'll do just that. Because I have some cymbals, but right now I'm using Wallace's cymbals. Wallace has a great deal of cymbals, and he's also collected cymbals from the great drummers that he's played with.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to say any names and any specific eras, but he's got the stuff. The stuff everybody wants. And so I used some of the copies of those.
Nice.
Yeah, they're very great cymbals. Yeah.
Yeah. So definitely, everyone should check out this band. The name of the band is the Wallace Roney Quartet.
Quintet.
Quintet. Oh,
Quintet. There's a saxophone player, Emilio Modest, who isn't here right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And we just have the rhythm section here, and they just killed it earlier on the recording. Which
for
a made up version on the spot.
That's right. Yeah.
But yeah. Anything else you wanna go into? Maybe future endeavors? Anything you guys want to talk about? Anything you're working on? If you want to do a shout out for any any projects, or if you want to
I'm just trying to stay alive and play.
Right on.
That's about it. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. But
sure. Keep on playing those drums. That's
that's
one of my email. That's what I say.
Keep on playing.
Keep on playing. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Wallace has a record out right now, Blue Dawn, Blue Nights, and
we're on the record.
Yeah, they are. Well, they are. I'm not.
Oh, you're not.
No, I'm not.
that's
It's yeah. So
Where do you know where people can go to get it?
yeah, iTunes,
All the regular.
all the
stuff.
regular, all the yeah, all
And
the
you guys are
all the
both on it.
platforms. Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah, and yeah, and that's and right now we're just prepping and working and trying to move along.
And so this isn't going to go out for a little while. Are you guys going to come back to Chicago probably next year? Is that like a yearly thing?
it depends.
Hopefully.
I wish I could promote your gig this time, but
Yeah.
at this point it's a little late.
Yeah,
But yeah, I think you were here last year about the
yeah.
same.
Well, a little later in the year, we're here in the summer.
It was warmer.
It was
in the summer. So
Chicago gets so
But
cold.
we are playing 3 sets, aren't we?
we are playing 3 sets tonight.
Yeah,
Well, we're playing the matinee,
Right,
and then
right.
we're playing 2 sets in the evening.
we're playing 4, and then
4 and then
8 and
8
10.
again. Oh, we got a little break in between. Yeah.
The matinee is really fun though.
Yeah.
Especially in that room. It's a beautiful room. The jazz show. It used to actually be
Blackstone.
Well, it was in the Blackstone a long time ago. And then after that, I went to go see Marion McPartlin at the Blackstone once. So I did actually go there. She was great. You guys ever listen to her? She did like a radio show for a long
Yeah.
time.
Piano jazz.
Yep.
but after that they moved up north, and then they came back down. But that building, Dearborn Station, that used to be where Merritt School of Music was, and I went there when I was a kid. That was kind of where I knew a lot of really good drummers. George Blanchett was the teacher there, really awesome. But that was a dance studio for the longest time. But yeah, for the matinee, the light kind of pours in a little bit, which it's
right.
nice. I've always loved the matinee.
Yeah.
It's probably my favorite set to go to, actually. You guys get to play three sets in a day, though. That's intense, but
Yeah.
at least it's at a really nice, welcoming club. Is Wayne around? He's
yeah.
usually not. He's out of town all the time.
No. He's around. He's
Awesome.
around.
Tell him I said hey.
We'll definitely
Yeah,
do.
and everyone listening, check out the Jazz Showcase. It's a wonderful venue. They've been, they're still at it. They've been doing it for years and years and years,
That's right.
supporting jazz and bebop. But yeah, guys, thanks. Fun, really fun time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And everyone, thanks for listening.